Another L for the Philadelphia Union this past weekend. It was not fun to watch, and there's been some chaos going on around the team, but a bright spot for you guys. In studio today, we've got our dear friend, special guest, the personality working with Power 99, iHeartRadio, the Roxy Romeo in the house. Woo!
Thank you.
Hi, Roxy.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming
So
in.
excited to have you here. And listen, we're going to try our best to talk through all the drama of Julian Carranza officially being now headed to Feyenoord, the loss on Saturday, looking ahead to Wednesday's game, and also talking about Kevin Durant with Twitter fingers. I don't know if you call it X fingers these days, but some drama going on the X with Kevin Durant, who yet again finds himself in the middle of some Twitter conversation.
Shocker.
So first things first, Roxy and JP, Tyler Zulli, myself, Renee, we have a lot to talk about starting with Saturday's game. Not a great game for the Philadelphia Union. It's week after week getting a little bit exhausting of us trying to say, like, next game, maybe this has to change. Quite frankly, you lose 2-1. You're up 1-0 early with a goal in the first 3 minutes. You end up losing 2-1 to Inter Miami, who was shorthanded without Lionel Messi, Luis Suarez. And Miami had 2 players. They were down 2 players with 2 red cards. Like, it just felt like it couldn't get any worse. It did. Yeah. Not good.
And it was at home.
And it was at home. Thank you, Roxy. And it was at home. So I know in the chat, Ivan and Al and everyone, listen, we're going to get our frustration out of here because there's a lot to complain about. This team is, I mean, like, now what? I don't even know where to go from here. I don't even know. I've tried so hard to be optimistic. I think I'm all out of optimism.
Oh, I mean, like, the reality kind of set in. I mean, like, when you go down to Subaru Park on Saturday night, you know, it's Union Miami. You kind of expect a lot of black and pink, right? Like, it's Messi's in town. Well, Messi's team's in town. Not Messi, but Messi's team's in town. There's still a lot of 10 Messi shirts. And, you know, off of the Julian Carranza news, and obviously we get the confirmation from Jim after the game that, listen, he's gone, right? And, like, now we have to kind of settle into this reality of not having a prolific scorer when we're already struggling this season. But I think, like, Saturday was just a big wake-up call to everyone. Like, the championship window, Renee, I think it's finally over. And it ended on Saturday. And I know it's still in the middle of the season. But when you, like, even if this team, Renee, were to go on some type of a winning streak that we are hoping that they can finally start to go on, do you think that they in the playoffs can beat a Miami, beat a Cincinnati, beat a Columbus, beat an Orlando, a New York Red Bull? Do you think that they could beat any of those teams? Because I personally cannot. And if you're going to bring in some signings, you obviously have to replace Carranza. You still need some depth in this team because obviously we looked at what these past 2 offseasons have. You can't get players in here to mesh with the team quickly and get ready for the playoffs. Like, it just feels like this window is shut.
It's shattered. It's not shut. There's no window. It's gone. Roxy, I'm curious to know, in all your years as a Union fan and following the team, is this the worst that you've seen it? Is this we've had some bad, dark times for the Union, don't get me wrong, and it felt like things were moving in the right direction. And I agree with you, JP, this past week felt like the ultimate moment for everybody of, like, it's over. Burn it down, start again, try all over again. What are your thoughts on this?
That's what I was reading a lot about, that they need a reset.
Yeah.
I mean, I kind of feel like this is probably the worst, and I think it makes it worse because not too long ago, the Union actually was doing really good. Like,
exactly.
We made it to the playoffs. We were, like, in the finals. Like, so now that we are losing to a team that are down 2 players, and at home, I mean, I don't know. Like, it looks really bad. I do not have hope. I'm with you. So, yeah, I think that they need a major reset.
They have yet to play a full 90 minutes this year. Like, that first half Saturday, I thought that was really good.
It was good.
They moved the ball well. They were playing good defense, which obviously, listen, without Suarez and Messi, make things a little bit easier. But we talk about it. Like, if you're going to play this style of soccer, you need to play a full 90 minutes. And they have yet to do this entire season. That's why we're talking about 7 straight winless. But to lose in that fashion, like, you had Ua score a great goal.
3 minutes in.
3 minutes in.
Glesses made a great play, too. We've killed him as well. And then in the second half, you just shut down completely? Like, that's uncalled for.
It went from the first half where Inter Miami defensively looked like cones and they were caught in transition. That's how the goal happened. Caught in transition, very flat at times, to then swing. And what I was confused about in the first half, it was like, okay, the Union are creating chances. They're all around the goal. They're looking for that second goal, that insurance goal. And then it was like they just stopped. Like I don't even understand how it swung so much that it became Inter Miami down a man and then down two to now have the better of play, better of transitions, getting out into space, stretching the back line. That second goal that happened, Jacob Glesnes looked like he had cinder blocks on his feet. He was moving like 2 steps slow. This team right now, they just run out of gas, it feels like. And that's why I do feel like it's time to bring in make changes. This isn't it. This group isn't it. And it's only, unfortunately, feels like it's going to get worse.
Yeah. I mean, shout out to our friend Jose Nunez, because he goes into the locker room. He's asking Kai Wagner the tough questions, and Kai's talking about, they're both talking about the lack of just help for this team, the lack of signings. And if that's the mentality of a guy like Kai Wagner, how do you think the rest of the dressing room feels? It's a tough spot that they're kind of put in right now. And right now they're trying to find that confidence again, right? Like when you play union soccer, you play as a collective unit. And right now, I think the mentals are shattered a little. You brought up shattering. The mentals right now are a little shattered for the Union. And when they were at their highest, 2022, when you were all enjoying their soccer, right, they were a confident bunch. Yeah. Every single match, they walked out there and they knew they were going to beat you. And they lost that edge. How do you find that? That's going to be the tricky part. And at this point, again, I don't feel like they can find that.
Yeah. And that's exactly it. You had a chance against a shorthanded Inter Miami team that's without key pieces and a chance to like jump on them a little bit. They obviously need a result. They've won 1 game in the last, 11 games now. And it's been a lot of losses, but it's been a lot of ugly losses. And Roxy, you're from Miami. So let's just talk about the elephant in the room. This is low-key your squad that just beat on the Union too. These are both your teams, so you're a little torn.
Your babies.
I get that though, because I run into the same issue with my LeBron fandom with the Sixers. But when you're torn like that, Inter Miami versus the Union, what's a game like this mean to you when you are looking at it?
If I'm being totally honest,
okay,
it doesn't hurt me as much. I'm sorry to say, as like a diehard, born in Philly, grew up in Philly fan. I was low-key very excited when I found out Miami was getting an MLS team. And then I was even high-key excited when I found out they were getting Messi. So, I still have to love Miami. I mean, I was born and raised there, but I live in Philly now. I definitely have love for the Union. I've been connected to the Union a lot longer than I have Miami. Okay. So they're still number 1 for me, but Miami's a very close number 2.
Respect.
We have a lot of people who are finding MLS, which, listen, this is the positive of Messi, right, in Miami. Yeah. We have a lot of people who are finding their way in the MLS. I mean, I was watching the goals that Miami scored and seeing the people in the crowd, see some kids in those pink jerseys. So, I mean, I get it. It's raising the profile of the MLS. You know me, Renee. I'm 5 for 5.
Yeah, and you're one of those, I feel like,
Philly through and through, yeah.
You're like, these new fans these days. But it's great to see. We've got a wide range. I always make the joke, you have the casual fans. You have the fans that are just enjoying the vibes and the environment. You have the fans that are like true diehard soccer fans and born and raised and soccer through and through. So this is where the growth of the game is helping to be able to reach so many people. That's why it also makes me, I think, a little bit more frustrated, because right now there are so many more eyes on soccer. There's so many more eyes on MLS play in general. And the Union have a prime opportunity to show why people should be interested in them. Like, I think the Phillies right now, although they just lost back-to-back series, going to London was like a great example of that. It was a chance on a big stage to show people this is what the Phillies are all about. This is what baseball is all about. This is why you should support us. They won new fans. The Union are like, not only forget winning, because they're not doing that, they're losing a lot of fans too. And they're putting themselves in a position where, as acquisitions and roster moves and trades are coming about, who's going to want to come to the Union? Already they were dealing with that issue. They didn't want to pay. They've always been cheap. So they're not going to pay for players. And then on top of that, with the struggles of late, just not playing a good 90 minutes, not playing good soccer, you look at a team like Inter Miami, you look at FC Cincinnati, they play on Wednesday, you look at LAFC, all these other teams, they're just putting out a better product that's more enticing for fans, for players, for coaches to want to be a part of. I mean, that's a big part I feel like that's missing with this group now. As you talk about your fandom, that they don't have that same draw right now. It was Union Yards. It was the galas where we connected. It was like they had these opportunities, but they've now fallen so short of even connecting with fans, which...
You are so spot on.
That's not good.
You are so spot on. Because
not good.
Think about this fumble that we just did, right? 22, the peak of the Union in their history, right? You make it to the MLS Cup final. They're breaking records for scoring.
Right.
And instead of capitalizing on that popularity, what do? Back-to-back off seasons where you really don't bring any signings of impact. Damian Lowe has been the one impacting signing in the last 2 seasons on a team that was still really good, and you couldn't capitalize on that. And now you're going to have to run into the situation where what do you do with the squad, right? Like, what do we do with the squad? The way the championship window that we had, you can't build off of that. You unfortunately now have to kind of turn the page and find those new pieces. And it just fumbling the popularity that we were at its peak. It's just it's unacceptable, quite honestly.
You guys are the experts. So why do you think that they are not willing to spend the money they need to get the players they need?
That's been the biggest issue. They won't spend, and you have to spend to be able to keep up with the rest of the league. I mean, you look at Inter Miami bringing in Messi, like their teams are giving out millions of dollars for players to be able to acquire them. And the Union, I almost said the Phillies, the Union are spending the bare minimum. They're bringing in a lot of young players, homegrown talents, those 18, 19-year-olds. I know they obviously brought up David Vasquez this past weekend because of the roster shortage with having players away for international duty. So they did make this official move to add David Vasquez to the roster ahead of the match against Inter Miami. You know, that's an academy product. That's a homegrown player that you're signing to a short-term agreement. It's been very small moves, piecemeal things of, you know, depth pieces, young pieces, future pieces, but none of them are making an impact now. Even a Kevin Sullivan, to be honest, who we've all talked about, 14-year-old sensation, great from a marketing and PR perspective. But what does that do for the team right now? How does that help them Saturday? How does it help them Wednesday?
But isn't he supposed to be going overseas anyway at some point?
So 18.
Yeah. So is he? I mean, is he even going to play at any point?
Right. That's my issue.
I'm gonna put this easily for everyone, and for people out there who don't watch the MLS as well. This is good for you as well. So, like, everyone eats Chipotle, right? Like, we've all had Chipotle.
Oh, not Chipotle.
So, when McDonald's bought Chipotle, they...
I didn't know McDonald's bought Chipotle.
Yeah. I didn't either.
I got you guys.
When did they buy Chipotle?
That was a while ago. So, McDonald's, when they bought Chipotle, they landed on a landmine, right? Like, it's a great... We've all had it in its early 2010s. Like, it's a great product, right? So, they just had that. They never invested in it. They never made it a better product. They just let Chipotle be Chipotle. And now you fast forward to 2024... You go on TikTok, you go on Instagram, everyone's slandering Chipotle. But because you didn't invest in that product, that's what happens over time. And kind of the same thing here for the Union. Jay Sugarman, when he went into the MLS, he bought it for like 50 million, something very low. Yeah. And it's gained so much profit over the years because the league is just continuously growing. You get Messi in here, you get the Apple TV deal. So for Jay Sugarman, it's easier for him to sit back, keep selling us, hey, we're buying the best kids in the area. We're going to build a team through our youth academy. Kids don't cost a lot of money to put on your team. You know, building a youth academy doesn't cost a lot of money. We don't cost a lot of money. Bringing a Messi, bringing a Giroud, bringing these big name players.
But they're only coming in when they're ready to retire from overseas.
Right.
You just got to continue investing.
Right. And that's the other problem is you look... Those players, though, as a Giroud, a Messi, when they come in, even though they're not in their prime, they're still able to help contribute.
Yeah.
And I do think there's value in bringing in those aging players that have the experience, have had a chance to win championships and, you know, be the best of the best and play internationally in World Cups and Olympics and things like that. Whereas for the Union, they're bringing in kids. They're bringing in young players, and they're hoping they can develop them or hoping they can, honestly, get money or trade for them or something to build up the homegrown product and the foundation of this group. And they have had talent that it actually has worked out. They have had over the years the Brendan Aaronsons and Paxton and Mark McKenzie's where it did work out, but then they didn't capitalize and continue off of that. Then they got complacent. And I know in the chat, I'm seeing Ivan mentioning, like, why didn't the Union invest 1 and 2 quality players back when they made that MLS Cup final run? That was the time. Instead, they ran it back with the exact same group. They got a little bit comfortable almost and complacent. And other teams made changes to boost their roster, and the Union never did to keep up. And now they're behind the 8 ball. And so it requires you to have to spend a lot of money versus if they had done 1 or 2 quality players here and there. I mean, Damian Lowe is a great example. Add a couple more Damian Lowe's. You know, add a couple other players that are going to help start, help you win games, be somebody that could be a 90-minute player versus guys that require a couple years before they're even ready to be at that spot. So it is a little frustrating because they've had... The foundation's been there, defensively especially. You have from Andre Blake in goal, Jaculett, Jacob Lessons, Ali Boyer, they've had those core players, but they haven't done anything to add to them. It's been the same group running it back.
Yeah, Jose spot on here too. They've spent on facilities to create the players via youth. It's tough when you overdo it on that end. Gotcha. Can't go all plastic like Miami. Got to grow, but also be comfortable with the mercenaries. So something in between. I've talked about that before. Like I love the blueprint of a Columbus, right? Of a Cincinnati, where they are spending money, but they're spending it in a smart way. And then you see Cincinnati and Columbus. That was literally Eastern Conference Finals last season. So 2022. You had the crux of a really good team, and instead of building on it, building a bench, because also you have CONCACAF Champions Cup, right? You need depth. That's where they didn't strike. That's where they didn't take advantage of, and this is where we're at right now.
See, my issue is I feel like if you're winning games, especially you win a championship, for example, that's the biggest investment you can make. You now can show your club winning championships, making deep runs in the playoffs. It's going to make more players want to be a part of your team. Versus if you're losing, and yes, the facilities that they built out, beautiful. Union Yards, the field there, everything's great that they've been doing outside the game. But that doesn't translate into wins, which doesn't translate into keeping players, which doesn't translate into keeping players that you have happy. Now people don't want to be there as much because they're like, oh, another game that they're getting frustrated. As Jeremy's mentioning, you're running the same group back 3 years in a row, the same formation, the same tactics. It gets predictable. It gets stale.
So then my next question is, well, do we need to look at coaching?
It's tough because Jim has, and everyone knows I'm the biggest Jim proponent here.
I love him, but I'm just asking.
So the tough part.
No, it's a good question.
The tough part for Jim is that he's literally working with he's being dealt, right? Like he's not picking these players. He's not making these big decisions. So he has to work with what he's got. And Jim has had to run the same and Jeremy brought it up, the same roster for 3 seasons he's had to work with here. And that's another point too. Charlie Davies brought it up this morning on CBS Golazo. We haven't even changed our tactics or formation. So, like, people literally have 3 years of tape to watch, and it's the same thing from 2021 and 2024.
But this is my point. Like, I understand that he has the same players, he has the same roster, but if you know that it's not working, then maybe you need to change what you're doing. What is the definition of insanity is doing the same thing and expecting a different result.
And that's my issue, because I do feel like there have been opportunities, and I do love Jim. I think he's a great guy, but there have been chances where he could change it up. The formation can be different. The starting group and who's coming off the bench and when, some of those tactics can change and do need to change because it has been the exact same year after year. You cannot run through with the same. The Union only attack on set pieces. They attack on flank on crosses. There has not been any change in how they can possess and combine and get up the field. Defensively, it's been the same defensive orientation, high pressing, how they defend has been the same. Those are the tactics that Jim can change. He can't change the people, but he can change how they're playing. So I agree with you, Roxy. It does feel like insanity that year after year, we're continuing to talk through, okay, this group only can score in the same way. They only defend the same way. When will that change? And then nothing changes. And then here we are again. The cycle continues, frustrated and annoyed. So I don't fault Jim fully, but there are components that honestly, him and his staff, who do a good job developing players, need to do a better job of also making those adjustments that should hopefully help. That part is missing, to be honest. They don't have that.
Yeah, I mean, I think right now it's just that the players, I don't think he has the players to run anything else. Because like in the past, like he's run like the Christmas tree. He's run the 3 in the back and like those type of formations work for like 1 to 2 matches, but then that's it. Like you run out of it.
But you can build that. You can change what you're rolling out. If you want to go to a 3-back system and have a 3-5-2, for example, instead of maybe a 4-3-3, you can change that in starting a practice. It won't happen overnight. And like you mentioned, it might take time to stick. So maybe the first couple games it looks good and then it drops off. But if they were to run out, okay, you know what? We're going to change how we're pressing, how, where our line of pressure is, whatever it may be, that with time can happen. Also, you have other young players. We've talked about it before. Try them. I know this past weekend they had to because you're shorthanded, but try some different guys, try some different combinations. You don't have anything to lose when you're already losing and you're continuing to roll things out the same. Why not try something different? So that's been my frustration about it. I just feel like there's been opportunities that Jim can try something different, and to continue to blame it on we don't have the players. as a coach, yes, I hear you, but that's your job. Your job is to work with what you got and make the most out of it. And you can't just continue losing saying, we need players, we need players. You need to make sure you're setting yourself up, putting a good product on the pitch. And you know where you guys can put a good product and get some great products? Over at Rite Aid. You can always get a great product at Rite Aid because they've got some tremendous services, pharmacy services, vaccines, and any household products you need, medicines, the over-the-counter medicines that you may need. And with our friends over at Rite Aid, they have some new opportunities for you to make sure you're making the most of your pharmaceutical process. It can get stressful refilling prescriptions and trying to make sure you're getting to the pharmacy on time to get those prescriptions, scheduling vaccines. Well, with Rite Aid, they've got the My Pharmacy account that simplifies all of that for you and more. You get those personalized care recommendations. You can sign up for prescription notifications. You get all the details you need, and you can get started right away at Rite Aid today at riteaid.com/mypharmacy. They also have a mobile app. Rite Aid's gone mobile, or you can get all those details right on your fingertips at your phone. Get caught up with whatever you need to make sure you're enrolling in those automated courtesy refills. It's free, it's easy, and most prescriptions do qualify. Rite Aid has everything you need. I love the fact I can find a Rite Aid on any corner pretty much. Driving down Philly, down Broad Street, I can find my Rite Aid right there, pop in, and get that last-minute medication. And as I told you guys before, yes, there was a time I was in Rite Aid and couldn't find the medicine I needed, and their pharmacists were super helpful in pointing me to the right direction and also taking me there, not just go down aisle 5. They took me to the spot, they showed me the medicine, they talked me through it, and were able to help me get the help I needed. So you can transfer your prescriptions to Rite Aid today. Just go to riteaid.com/transfer. Rite Aid has those caring pharmacists, like my friend that I got help from, whose name I still don't know, and they're ready to answer your questions. They help you stay healthy, and you can get your prescriptions along with anything at Rite Aid you may need, including those over-the-counter prescriptions, medicines, household products, cosmetics, snacks, last-minute birthday gift wrap, whatever it may be, and more, right at Rite Aid. Just ask your pharmacy team for more details, and some restrictions, of course, do apply.
All right, Renee. Well, Renee's talking about last-minute buys. Let's talk about last-minute bets, ladies and gentlemen. It's an important time to remind you that we are brought to you by the BetPark Sportsbook app. That's right, guys. Listen, I know you might not want to gamble on the Union for the rest of the season. I get it completely. But there's some other teams around the league. There's even Major League Baseball. We're in probably the final week of both the Stanley Cup and the NBA Finals. So, guys, head on over to BetParks. And if you're feeling lucky, well, then test your luck. Let's see. Get in the zone with the BetPark Sportsbook app. Win big with all-day action. Win your first $10 bet and earn $125 in sports bonus bets. It's not bad. You play for fun. You love to win. You bet BetParks. Download the app and play along with us here today. You must be 21 or older, and please gamble responsibly. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, please call 1-800-GAMBLER. Thank you, BetParks.
Yes. All right. Well, I see in the chat we're getting some different discussions
about
about
the conversation
things.
today.
Oh, yeah. About things that can be done. The discussion around making sure, let's start with Ivan mentioning how Kai spoke with Jose, thinking that the team needs pace. You know, why hasn't Jim been playing Anderson? Anderson has been injured and has been working back. Quinn and Anderson are two guys that bring dynamic play and speed. Also, I know Neil's making a really good point, being less worried about Jim's coaching, but more worried about Jim and Lee for a better opportunity. That is actually a key part of this too, because as much as, you know, you can, anytime a team is losing, first of all, you point the finger at the coaching staff. And we all know coaches aren't playing for the team, but they still get the ones that are the first to blame, first to go, first to let go, mutually parted ways whenever that happens. But at the end of the day, if Jim Curtin were to leave this team in the shambles that they are already in, that could be really chaotic too. There's a lot going on. Shit would hit the fan. And I just would be a little bit nervous because he has been kind of holding them together, it feels like. Yeah. And you wonder what a change like that would do to this group to now lose, you know, the anchor, the coach that's been here, you know, forever, that's been helping them out. So, yeah. And then Jeremy's also mentioning needed to move on from players that we love. Someone like Ali Bedoya, you know, it is an unpopular take for sure, but this is part of it. They're aging. We make the joke, the pre-AARP group. Because they're getting up there a little bit in soccer years. And so it's a lot of mileage on the tank. They've played a lot of soccer. They've played a lot of minutes. And you can see them just looking a little bit run down, like they've hit a wall.
Do you feel like that about Blake, though?
Well, we haven't seen him this year.
I'm like, I get that.
Yes.
But I feel like when he's on the field, he is on the field.
Yeah.
Like, he plays.
No, you're spot on.
Yeah.
It's been part of the problem too. They've missed Blake. I mean, Blake has been missing like 3 months now, and this defense has been in shambles since then. And when you have a strong anchor like Andre Blake, he brings leadership. He makes ridiculous saves time after time, and they definitely are missing that. And I guess the question has to be like, how many more losses or how many more bad performances before the front office does actually can Jim Curtin? Because it is a topic people are going to bring up and talk about.
He's under fire.
You know me, I don't agree with that because I think he's been working with what he's got. But it is a business that we're talking about. We're talking about sports, and these things do happen. And firings in the middle of the season does happen. There was a point where Jim was taking people's jobs. If there was 21, 20, we would play these teams. And then, they were in a bad spot. We beat them, and then they get fired. Jim got 9 coaches fired in 2 seasons. It was wild.
Well, I mean, this is literally why I brought up the question. I was not hating on Jim.
Yes.
Okay.
No.
But if you sit there and look at basketball,
you're not the only one,
the first
Roxy.
person to go. You know what I mean? So I'm like, let me ask about the coach.
And
you're
it's,
not
again,
wrong
it's
at
not
all.
always like we know. It's not always because of the coach that the team is struggling.
Right.
But what they want is some new voices. And as we're talking about new personnel, it could be time for some new voices for the Union in leadership, which could start with Jim. Now, unfortunately, as we're talking through, not having an Andre Blake, whatever's going to happen with Jim, there's still question marks around those. There is no question mark about the future for Julian Carranza because it is official. Julian Carranza has been officially linked to Feyenoord. It's happening. He's gone. The summer transfer window, we're going to see him headed to Feyenoord. Personal terms have already been agreed upon. The club-to-club deal has been in place. They're working on those final details of documentation. And yes, Feyenoord has a new forward in Julian Carranza. As they talk about, they're excited because this is an important step in consolidating the team at a high level. The expectation is for him to come in and bring dynamic movement and agility and finishing ability. And that all sounds great for Feyenoord, but not great for the Philadelphia Union because you lose one of your leading goal scorers in Julian Carranza that has had 43 goals, 20 assists in his last 95 career appearances, dating back to 2021 when he joined the team in that winter of 2021. This is a big loss. And on top of all the other chaos of losing this past weekend, wondering about the future of Jim, now the Union have to figure out where they're going to get goals from. Where are they going to get offense from?
Where are your boots, Renee?
Come in, coach. My gosh. I mean, but now what? What do you do now? This is exactly what we did not want to have happen because you have lost a key player on top of, again, Andre Blake's still not even back. And you already are missing players for the international, Euros and everything with Daniel Gazdag and Damian Lowe. And now you take away your leading goal scorer with no plan of replacement.
I feel like the owners, the powers that be that make the decisions, their backs are going to be against the wall and they may be forced to spend money.
Yeah.
Because aside from the fact that, they're losing players, they also have to deal with, I forgot what I was saying.
Ooh, Carranza or Jim?
Well, Carranza too, but what? Go. It's gonna come back to me.
Gazdag?
No.
The defender.
No.
Okay.
No, keep going.
Yeah,
it'll come back to me.
It'll come back to you.
It's a brain fart.
Go ahead, JP.
No, I mean, it's going to be terrible. This is, oh my God. So listen.
Oh, this is what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Sorry. So I was going to say that aside from the fact that they have these players that are leaving, people, their fans, the fans that are buying tickets, the fans that are buying, merch and everything, they might start falling off. And when you start losing that type of money, what are you going to do?
Yes.
I've already seen the tweets.
The money that's coming in to fund your team.
That's a really good point. What happens when Subaru Park doesn't have that loud rockin' fan base and it's empty, or people are booing, or people just are, boycotting going to support anything with the Union?
Guys, people are pulling out their season tickets. I see it every day. On Twitter. People are already pulling out their season ticket plans because they're just frustrated with this.
Where do they go and see?
Yeah, right? Who are we going to see?
It's bad.
Krisafi, my boy Krisafi's in the chat. What's up, man?
That's the thing. Who are you going to watch? What are you going to watch? Why would you go to a Philadelphia Union game right now?
Yeah, because the better...
Respectfully.
The question...
I love them.
I know. Okay, it's hard to even say that. It was painful to say that.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. Where are these goals going to come? Because they're not going to replace Carranza. They're not going to replace him right now. And we're gonna roll with Chris Donovan, Ty Baribo. They're gonna keep forcing Quinn in 2 different positions. I don't know if you guys have watched over the past couple matches, but Quinn needs work finishing. It's no knock on him. He's a young kid who's working his butt off playing 2 different positions. But this is what we're talking about. You need to bring some supplements. That's why Kai is voicing his opinions too. Jose, because someone's got to say something. And yeah, you're right. I mean, yeah, this fan base is already kind of turned on them. And like I talked about, like they were at the peak of their popularity after that 2022 season. Yep. The Phillies are the hottest team in Philadelphia right now. I mean, they're hotter than the Eagles. Like we're in June, people are talking about the Phillies. They're not talking about the Eagles. And this was the perfect time for the Union to stick with that, at least try to get into that conversation. But no, we're not.
You know what? I hate to say this, but there are so many Union fans that are so quick to be salty about the team not getting love and not getting coverage. And, we don't talk about the Union enough. Well, it's hard to talk about them when they're playing awful soccer. And I know it's our jobs. Like for us, literally, it's our jobs. But it's not, the fans don't have to go. People don't have to support because they're putting out a bad product. You want to get the respect in this city of being 5 for 5 and being included. I hate to say it. Spend some money. Bring in some players. Invest in the team. Help them win games, or at least play better soccer. I cannot get over. You are up 1-0 and you lose 2-1
to 9 men
and a 9-11. And the second goal is like a breakaway.
It was terrible.
You could literally double team everybody on the ball and you lose against Inter Miami, who's it's a prime opportunity to beat them without Messi, without Suarez, and you lose 11-9 to their backups.
You're not beating them that second matchup.
But that to me is like the icing on the cake. Like this past week, I think you lost a lot of people between the news of Julian, the loss, and then they play again on Wednesday. It's not good.
But what did our colleagues ask us before we hopped on here? When are they going to play the 14-year-old? But this is what we're talking about.
The saving grace is Kevin Sullivan.
But he's like, we're relying on a child to save our team.
How good is he? Because I have never seen him actually play.
He's good, but he's a kid.
So me playing devil's advocate with that is me thinking about overseas soccer. Mm-hmm. They sign kids.
They do.
And some of them at 14 can actually hold their own on a field.
They can.
You know what I mean? So that's my devil's advocate. So I don't know where he's at. I have not seen him play. I just have seen a million headlines about him. And he's like this phenom. So I'm like, maybe he's worth putting on the field. Maybe he can actually make a difference. I don't know.
This goes back to our point. Why not? Why not? I mean, first of all, you signed him. You rolled out the red carpet, made this whole big PR move about us signing the 14-year-old generational talent, Captain America, Kevin Sullivan, and then you don't play him. And everybody's been asking, is he closer? What's it going to take? And I know Jim was mentioning recently how there's just a pecking order and he's got to prove himself with time. But if you brought him in and he's doing well in practice, give him some minutes. Again, you're not, this is the time. You're missing guys. You're not winning games. You're not getting results. To say, we've got other guys and we're not, I do enjoy the one part he was mentioning, like we're not going to just put him on the field just because he's a big name and the notoriety. But if he's talent-wise ready to play, it might be a spark that they need. Just again, change of personnel, some fresh legs out there, some young talent. He's 14. He's not the 30-year-olds that have been playing for 14 years at this point professionally. That's sarcasm. But I mean, I just feel like why not? What do you have to lose? Jeremy Raffanello, Ty Baribo. Of course, you don't have Ty now, but Kevin Sullivan, Marcus Anderson when he's healthy. What do you have to lose with putting these young guys, the younger players that you brought them on the team? You put them on this roster. We didn't put them on this roster. You put them on this roster. Play them. Why not?
So the only reason that I could potentially think about that they would not play him is the only reason they signed him was because they want to get as much money as they can for him once they trade him.
Right.
Well, so the deal is already in place. So I forget the fee that they.
So they already
Well, the deal was already done. Yeah, they already signed. So it's all set.
Yeah, because 16 is when he leaves.
Okay.
The only reason why
and then 18 he can play with Manchester City.
The only reason why that's happening is because of the laws over in England.
Okay.
You have to be 18 to work because obviously this is still a job. As much as we love this, right? It's still a job. But no, I mean, I guess that raises the question: are they handling it too conservatively?
But I do think your point about the money is right, just in the wrong direction because the deal is done. But I think the money side is you're getting clicks out of this. You're getting more people talking about it. There's how many outlets did we hear and see talking about the Union when the Kevin Sullivan news dropped?
Yeah,
it was a publicity move. Honestly, you even are rolling out for him to be. He was at an Adidas event. He's been making some pop-up events and appearances and jerseys and things like. There's where the money comes in.
Listen,
because
I was clicking all over the place.
Okay.
All over the place because I'm like, who is this kid? Like, why are you talking about him so much?
You got Roxy Romeo talking about Kevin Sullivan.
I was contributing to those clicks.
Did he almost make it to the Roxy rundown?
Almost.
I love that.
But that's exactly it. That's the money piece. There it is. It's to get more notoriety and excitement. And listen, it worked for a hot second. But then the reality set in. That publicity does not win you games. It doesn't keep the Julian Carranzas on the team. And it definitely doesn't keep the team or fans happy. Because that shelf life is short. We all know, like you mentioned, we know he's not even going to be here for the future. You can't even get excited thinking this is the future for the Union. Nope, he's going to be gone in a couple years if you actually even get to see him play before then. So it's just a lot going on. And
it's a mess.
It's just a mess. It's just a whole hot mess right now.
Realistically, like, if there are any players that are part of the Union that are on the younger side and they really are excelling, there's always the possibility they're going to leave.
Right.
I mean, we've already seen it with several players.
That's the annoying part because as soon as you get these homegrown players playing at a high enough level, a Jack McGlynn, Nate Harriel, Quinn Sullivan right now, it was Brendan Aronson, Paxton Harrison, Mark McKenzie.
Yeah.
They're going to be gone. You're not going to be able to keep them because financially the Union don't want to spend money. But if you don't want to spend money and want to take care of your finances in a better way and be responsible, you can do that with our friends over at TrueMark Financial Credit Union because we're talking a lot about dollars and money and investments, and you can invest in yourself. With TrueMark Financial Credit Union, when you join a credit union like TrueMark, you get a chance to become a part owner. That means that your profits are coming back to you instead of going to shareholders. You also have a better opportunity to manage your funds because they've got better rates, lower fees, which is huge, and a much better return on savings. And in addition to all that, they've got flexible options. Right on your phone, they have some digital tools where you can stay up to date on your finances. I am a big nerd for always checking my finances, always seeing like my transactions, what's coming in, what's going out, where's my money going, where can I save a little bit more. TrueMark Financial Credit Union makes it even easier with their digital tools to make sure to keep on top of all your finances and all your spending and saving. As you're planning for the future, as you're investing in your future the way that you're supposed to, Union, take notes. You want to make sure you're investing with a credit union like TrueMark. They've got local roots headquartered in Fort Washington with 24 branches right here in Philly. So they're serving our community and our people right at home. You can become a member of a credit union with so many benefits. Way more benefits than becoming a member or a part of a bank. It's a no-brainer. And you can head over today to TrueMark.com/PHOY to learn more and to find a branch near you. Again, TrueMark.com/PHOY. Federally insured by the NCUA with our friends over at TrueMark Financial.
Love it. Renee, on Saturday in that second half, how heated were you?
You could boil an egg on my forehead.
So you probably needed to chill a little bit, didn't you? So I got the right thing for you, Renee. How about our friends over at Coors Light? Because anytime you're watching the Union this season, you may need to chill, sit back, and relax, and have yourself a nice cold Coors Light. Because when those mountains are blue, gotta crack. I wish I had a can right now. Gotta crack open that can of Coors Light, ladies and gentlemen. Listen, this weekend, a lot was going on, right? It was Father's Day weekend, moving around, going to both the father-in-law and my dad, right? So there was a lot of moving parts. So I didn't want anything heavy, but I still wanted a drink. So I had myself a nice little Coors Light. It's a little bit lighter. It's refreshing, right? So that's why we always choose Coors Light. When those mountains turn blue, it's as cold as the Rockies. Coors Light is cold lagered, cold filtered, and cold packaged for a smoother finish. When you embrace a chill mindset, it's a good time to choose chill and crack open that Coors Light. And here's what you got to do, guys, all right? So we all love going to the beer store, right? And that's sarcasm. We don't love going to the beer store. What Coors Light will do for you through Instacart, if you go right now to CoorsLight.com/PHLY soccer, again, that's CoorsLight.com/PHLY soccer, you can deliver right to your front step. There's nothing better than that. Especially on a Saturday, you don't want to go out. No, just have it delivered right to your front step, and everything takes care of itself. Celebrate responsibly. Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado. Thank you, Coors Light.
Thank you, Coors Light, indeed. All right, so let's get to some more drama around the Philadelphia Union because as if the tea wasn't simmering enough, it's about to get a little bit hotter. Kevin Durant has entered the chat. All right, this is your moment. So listen, we've got Roxy Romeo, our special guest on the show today from iHeartRadio, Power 99 Philly, the voice, the legend, Roxy Romeo.
Thank you.
Well, I want to get your thoughts on this because Kevin Durant was on Twitter and we have the screenshots because we always have receipts for Kevin Durant. You can delete the tweets all you want, but KD, baby, we have the receipts. Now, he was tweeting out defending. You like that?
No, just KD on Twitter is so funny. Mr. Burner account himself. He just
But
doesn't know
now
how to
he
put
did
it
it
away.
from his real Twitter, guys. It was at KD Trey 5. He didn't even go from the burner account.
Oh
He
my
responded to a few different tweets. First, Ron was talking about how the Union have been a disappointment ever since they got to the MLS final, exactly as we were talking about a couple of seasons ago, how they have, they expect fans to be loyal, but they fall short. They're not doing well. Their owner, and he tagged Kevin Durant, is well known for falling short. So, of course, KD entered the chat. Real fan support through the tough times, period. I love the period at the end. I feel like it makes a statement. And then continued to respond back to Ron. Ron said, how many teams have you demanded a trade from when things get tough? Question mark, question mark. Again, the punctuation is important. And then Kevin said, how long are you gonna cry about it? Question mark.
That's your comeback?
That's
KD?
the comeback. So Kevin Durant deleted some of these tweets, but of course, as we got the receipts, so did others. Plenty of people bookmarked it, screenshotted it, retweeted it, commented on it because Kevin Durant decided to respond to Ron, whose Twitter handle was @BlasphemousVOX. That's Ron for you, Mr. Blasphemous_VOX.
Thanks, Ron. We appreciate you.
Thank you for this. Roxy, I'm going to go to you first. Kevin Durant, one of the part owners of this team, Mr. I'm all in on soccer now, which I still don't fully understand how he got connected with the Union, but that is what it is. Does his usual. Twitter fingers, X fingers, maybe as we call it.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts?
I see no lies coming from Ron. Okay. He was talking as an owner, but he is also a player. And so I see no lies, Ron. Yeah, he wants you to support because obviously he's put his money behind the Union. But as a player, he has asked to be transferred to so many teams because he was chasing that ring. He didn't stay with his team. Did he stay with the Nets? No. He moved on because he couldn't get a ring. So no. I mean, Kevin sounds crazy. Like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Okay? Owner, player. I get it. But at the end of the day, you're being hypocritical.
K-Red, I don't know what the profile pic is. This is definitely some cartoon.
So it's from Tangled.
Oh.
Where the guy has the swords at him.
I see the meme, but I don't know where.
Is there a meaning behind it?
Yeah, where can we dig a little deeper into this? Because now I'm concerned.
He likes to think he's the most hated person in the world. He loves that. He loves that type of stuff. He's so weird. He's such a weird person. I just don't get it. But I mean, the thing is that yes, he doesn't care because at the end of the day, his pockets have increased every single season. Everyone's pockets in this league has increased every single season. So he's like, why should teams spend money? My pockets are good right now. You guys suffer. My pockets are good. But yeah, I mean, the fact that KD had the audacity to say real fan support through tough times when this man is the first one to bail when things hit the fan. It's just absolutely wild. And the thing is too, KD's got so many connections throughout the sports world, let alone soccer. But this man's friends with Antoine Griezmann. You name some of these European stars. You can't help us out, give us a little bit of your influence to bring us a player. Imagine, but not even Antoine Griezmann. Imagine you're you're a solid midfielder from the Netherlands, right? You're looking for some more playing time. Imagine KD reaches out to you and he's like, yo, come for the Union. Of course, you're going to be like, I love this. I'm in. I mean, where do I sign? It's crazy that KD is still doing this Twitter thing.
And for clarification, because I Googled and I was easily able to find his profile picture, as you mentioned, the meme, Tyler, it's that unpopular opinion meme.
Mm-hmm.
So pretty on brand for Kevin Durant to have his Twitter profile picture be like this. It's supposed to be a meme that you use when you're saying an unpopular opinion, which is Kevin Durant in a nutshell. That being said, for him to, as you mentioned, Rox, to be so hypocritical, I don't know how he could have worded it better. Where, first of all, just don't say anything. It's probably what you should have just did. Yeah. There's no reason to respond to blasphemous_VOX. Ron doesn't need a response. Secondly, let people be mad. They are allowed to be mad as season ticket holders, as fans, to be frustrated because, as you mentioned, you have owners, you have a front office that's not doing anything. Kevin Durant, I don't know what you're out here doing. I can't say what you are or not doing. But what I don't see are players coming into the team, which means that you're probably not best utilizing your network and your net worth to be able to help bring some players in. You just signed a line to be a part owner, but you're not actually bringing us any ownership, anything.
He's literally just collecting
He's
checks.
just collecting checks. And then on top of that, to respond and say like real fans, like don't attack the fans. Don't go at the fans because we don't need that from you, part owner. We don't need that part owner side of like real fans stick it out. When you literally leave
for like 2 minutes.
Right, you have barely been a part owner. We don't even see you at all, hear from you at all. Your name is just there on a list. And then as a player, your history has shown you don't stick out anything tough. You literally went to the Warriors after they beat you in the Western Conference Finals with OKC. You left the Nets after they had this big three that was supposed to win it all with you, Kyrie, and James Harden. And every time things get tough, you're gone. I mean, Suns, it's the same thing. It's only a matter of time at this point.
He's this close.
It's only a matter of time before he's out of Phoenix. So you are the message is great. The messenger is not great. And it's just interesting because KD is also notorious for getting on Twitter and deciding to, I guess, have some time every once in a while to decide to respond to people. And here we are.
What do we do? Like, I'm like thinking in my head, like, what do we do
now
here?
what?
Like, where do we go from here? Because, like, the way I envision
Throw it all away.
the rest of the summer, because we are in the off season of the European leagues, like, I feel like we're about to sell 2 more players. Like, that's just like something I feel like we're about to sell some more players.
You don't
here.
know this, but you just feel it in your
I
soul.
just feel it.
Okay.
It does feel like it's going to get worse before it gets better.
And they may make a sign, like they may make a sign, but it's not going to be anything
But
substantial.
maybe that's what it needs to be. Maybe they need to just hit rock bottom and then come back and rebuild and just blow it out the park. I don't know.
You know, I hate to say it is June and there's still a lot of season left. But if you take the rest of this season to blow it up, start bringing in some pieces, because realistically, that's been part of the problem is they've been putting a Band-Aid on stuff and like the team's bleeding out. So we need to do a little bit deeper procedure. And I feel like the core, not to be that's a really gory metaphor for you guys, but I feel like the core of this team, it needs to be changed. You know, with Jose Martinez, Jacob Glesnes, Ali Bedoya, Jack Elliott, Andre Blake, I hate to say it, like down the middle. And I love these guys. I'm a huge fan of theirs, but it's got to change. Something's got to change. So I do feel like it does need to get worse. They do need to hit rock bottom because if they can continue to squeeze out results here and there, it justifies not spending money. Because like, oh, we're still getting results. We're still in the mix. We're still right there, you know, vying for the middle of the pack.
I can't help but think like the last 3 years we got a little lucky because like the only thing that's really different from like the last 3 years to like the early like the first 10 years is that Ernst has been here and Jim had Ernst's backing. Ernst, listen, right now doesn't look good, but Ernst has done a really good job of building this team. And that's why we were good for the last 4 seasons. But like, besides like finding diamonds in the rough with Ernst's talent evaluation and building up this youth academy, everything is the same. And so when those 2 plans have kind of flamed out, what's next? And that's where Jay typically is just like, oh, we're fine.
Well, things are not fine. This is not great. I know, Jose, you're mentioning Jack and Glenn's probably gone. Probably not going to finish out the season.
For sure.
John,
he's had a great
what's up,
season.
John? You're mentioning how the core needs to be changed or pushed. They need quality talent to push guys who could step up more. Yeah, I think we're all in agreement. Like right now, it feels as though this isn't it. They got to shake it up and make some tough decisions. It might not be decisions we all agree with, whether it's player, coaching staff, whatever it may be. But this is not working. And like you mentioned, Roxy, insanity. We're not going to continue to do the same thing over and over again because that is literally the definition of insanity. I do want to give you a moment, Roxy. We appreciate you so much for taking time to join us to let people know more about your soccer fandom, because I was even surprised when we were at the Philadelphia Union Gala together, and I'm like, Roxy Romeo in the house, like what? And so you have been introduced to soccer over the years, and your fandom's been growing. You know, what has that experience? Take us back to how it all started.
I played soccer as a child, right? Like I played for like 10, 12 years of my life. I was never as good as you.
You literally left that part out.
I was never as good as you. I did not play professionally, but I did play for like 10, 12 years of my life. And I became a fan. I loved, soccer from that point on. And ironically, my husband, who I met at Trinidad Carnival. He's Trini, I'm Trini. He is a former professional soccer player in Trinidad, from Trinidad. And so he is, Like,
He loves the
like
soccer.
it's beyond. Like Real Madrid is his team, Hala Madrid. So we are watching La Liga, we are watching Premier League, we're watching all the international leagues, and then now that he's in the US, it's MLS. So we are like glued to the TV all the time, watching some league in soccer. And so my son is 3, so we have already decided he will be playing soccer.
Yeah.
We are going to be putting him into a little soccer team like in the next maybe like 3 months.
Okay.
Yeah, he does not have a choice. He is playing soccer.
Okay.
And then we are a soccer family.
Be careful. You might be getting a call from the Philadelphia Union for the next homegrown signing when he turns 5. I'm just saying.
I think like soccer is a youth sport though. Like I want it to become something that people can viably use later on down the life. Because like growing up, it was always like, yeah, you put your kid in soccer just so they can get out and do something, be some sport that they can pick. But like, you know, we have a lot of kids these days, you know, they have the hoop dream aspirations, making it the NBA, making it the NFL or WNBA. But like you can use soccer to go play in Italy, play in Turkey. Like these are cool places to kind of play in. And you just got to, you know, put the dedication that you would in those other sports into soccer.
I feel like it's a catch-22 because soccer obviously is the main sport outside of the US. Right? It's the biggest
crazy,
the biggest international sport. But America is just late getting on the bandwagon. And so I love the fact that now like soccer is becoming more popular here, but the reality is that the MLS, don't hate me, don't kill me, don't come at me for saying this, but the MLS like skill level, it is not comparable to overseas.
You're spot on.
You know what I mean? And that is why like a lot of homegrown players, a lot of like American players, that's their goal. They strive to like get picked up by international teams because number one, that is like the end all be all. Like you can't get bigger than playing in Premier League or La Liga or one of these huge teams, number one. And then on top of that, they pay way better. Like the money is ridiculous when you play overseas. So I would love for MLS to take soccer that seriously and it not be something, you know, secondary. I would love for them to try to like really pursue it being on the level. And I know it's not going to be tomorrow or even next year, but I would love to see MLS end up being on the same level as like a Premier League or something. And that could be like an actual like, you know, same caliber type situation.
So if your honest opinion, from your experience, why do you think America has a perception over soccer overall? Why we like just like kind of shun soccer for so long?
Well, I think it's because a lot of America wasn't introduced to soccer like that. It took so long, you know what I mean, for America to really be introduced because it was, we changed the name.
Yes,
we changed the name. It's not supposed. It's football. Like it was football for years and years and years outside of the country. And when we decided to, adopt the sport, we said we're not going to call it football. We're going to call it soccer.
You know, it sounds pretty on brand for how things typically happen here in America. This is a whole other conversation that we can go into here because we like to take things and rename them and claim them because soccer is only soccer in the United States. Everywhere else, it is literally football. Yeah. But I do agree with you on the sense that, like, I know in my family, I always say my sisters and I were first generation soccer players. Like, my parents played basketball. I have relatives that ran track, they played football at a very high level, profession and everything. But soccer wasn't even an option. It wasn't even something that they knew really existed. The same way that like lacrosse is now kind of picked up and other sports are becoming more household recognized, I should say. But around the world, soccer is the sport kids are playing in the streets, in the yard, all over the place. You know, I've heard stories about players. In fact, all the way through Makanya was mentioning how he wouldn't even go to class sometimes because he'd be playing pickup soccer somewhere. We don't have that in the United States. It's very much big on only having it structured, monetized. It's very expensive. It's not accessible. So I do feel like the U.S. is catching up slowly, and it all connects back to our Julian Carranza conversation about the union not being able to afford to keep him. To your point, the league as a whole is not able to afford to keep players. It's not even just the Philadelphia Union problem. What we're seeing is an MLS problem. So many players get to the top of the MLS and then end up playing internationally and making millions of dollars. I mean, the salary for the average role player is like more than what a top DP is going to get on some of these MLS teams. It's ridiculous. The difference in salary, the difference in opportunities, the difference in talent. So as much as we talk about like now what for the Union, it's also now what for the MLS. How many times are you going to have top players, leading goal scorers, golden boot, front runners and winners and MVPs, champions that end up playing in a different country, making bank? And then also like this wanting, as you mentioned, the aspiration is the MLS is a stepping stone in reality.
Right.
Whereas for other leagues like the NBA and the NFL, that is their final destination. Like your goal is to get there.
Yeah.
The goal is to get to the MLS. And somebody made a comment before, basically MLS is the minor league to the majors of the Premier League, La Liga, leagues like that. That's the sad truth though. It's a bigger issue.
It's becoming apparent.
Yeah.
To the point that you have like American investors that are not investing in the MLS, but they're going overseas. Like they're going, Jay-Z and his Rock Nation Sports. Like, I think Vinny is one of the people that he has signed to Rock Nation.
Right.
And
They also have Jack McGlynn of the Union. Rock Nation does. And
there are more.
Soon.
I mean, listen, Rob McElhenney, just with Wrexham and everything, we're seeing more and more people that are investing internationally and not investing back into soccer the same way.
Right.
So that's a good point. It's a really big issue that the United States as a whole, in terms of soccer, men's and women's soccer. Women's soccer is getting better because it also helps the U.S. women's national team, and the women's soccer has just been more successful in the United States. But in reality, the comparison to other leagues, financially, talent-wise, it's difficult. They're playing catch up and they're behind the 8 ball trying to compete to keep players, when in reality, as we mentioned, the goal for most players growing up is to be in the Premier League, is to be in the Champions League, not to play in the MLS. Or as we mentioned with Messi, you do get the opposite of players that want to come here to live in the States with their families and be able to live in a nice area like Miami or LA or New York, whatever it may be. And this is their retirement plan. Versus it being their final destination to stay and have a nice lengthy career. This shouldn't be the retirement spot.
It does feel right now like we're kind of at a standstill with our popularity with the league, because Messi came in, it was fantastic for Miami. You see so many pink and black shirts everywhere. Yeah. But what does that mean for the rest of the league? Where is the fandom? Where is the love for a Chicago, for a Utah, right? Like, it doesn't feel like everyone is growing at that rapid pace, and it's not. And this is an important point, because we have Copa America this summer, which is a big international tournament, and then the Super Bowl of it all for all of us American soccer fans is going to be the World Cup in 2 seasons. And where are we at with this right now? Where are we at with the popularity? So it's not just a Philly thing. There's a lot of markets that are going through the same things that we are. And we have to find a way to continue building this, because we're kind of at a standstill right now, popularity.
I'm praying to God that when World Cup comes here, that will somehow invigorate, like...
It did in 94.
Invigorate, like, either lazy fans to be active fans, or to just invigorate people who were not fans at all to really, like, open their eyes. Like, because... When World Cup comes, it's gonna be insane.
Oh yeah,
wild.
People are gonna be traveling from overseas to come to these games, and they're in like how many cities at this point? Like it's like 12 cities or something. So, and Philadelphia is obviously one of them. But I mean, when World Cup comes, it's going to take over the country like by storm. So I hope that it shows like, people, especially doubters, that this is a real like. This is a monster. You know what I mean? And it's worth supporting.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It'll show this is worth investing in. Yeah. This is not, and I heard this for the WNBA, but the same thing applies here for the MLS. It's not a charity league. It's a league worth investing in, because the future is bright. And it does feel like they've hit a ceiling, and they have to figure, I know Jose was saying in the chat also, various comments are saying, K-Ray just saying, like, I feel like I can't get invested. It is tough. I mean, K-Reg, you're being honest. As a guy that doesn't know anything about soccer, this is what you're saying. I'm just reading it for those on podcast platforms. He's saying, as a guy that doesn't know anything about soccer, that's what keeps me from watching MLS. I can't get invested. They don't have the same draw. There are a lot of people that don't even like soccer the same way as maybe like we might, but will watch Premier League games.
Wake up early
Champions
to watch
League
the
match.
Prem.
Yes. I know so many people that can't tell you anything about the MLS. Don't really pay attention to soccer, period. They're not soccer junkies in that sense, but they like the Premier League.
But the room's full of Manchester United stuff.
Different levels of playing.
It is.
It's a different level of play. It really is. And again, I love the Union. I love soccer, like, completely every league, but it is a different level of playing.
94 started the league, so we're hoping 2026 excels us to being one of the big leagues in the world. And to my argument with the quality, like I get it. This is America. We like the best, and I get that completely. But there's so many countries throughout the world who don't have the best league.
Yeah.
And they're so passionate about their team. And I'm just asking for like a little bit of that passion to come for your local MLS squad. Because like if you've done like the whole Union experience, like it's so cool enjoying it with your fellow Philadelphians, having that beer, talking about whatever you may be talking about locally, right? And I want that to continue growing in every single market. And so it's going to get there.
Yeah.
2026. It's going to get there, but got to show that local love.
That is the key. You see people in bars watching soccer games. You see people when they go to the game, they're on their feet the entire time. They're cheering. They're excited. They're wearing the jerseys. They're trash talking. Some of that same passion that we have in other sports doesn't always translate into soccer the same way, but we see it in football around the world. So it is a real conversation that needs to be had of what potentially is the ceiling for the MLS. Are they going to lock it in just being a tier 2 league that just is a feeder program for other leagues? Are they going to try to truly compete with the Premier Leagues and Champions League and La Liga and things like that? Because otherwise you're going to continue having plenty of teams like we're talking about with the Union across MLS that are sick and tired of losing their best players. You build up a team, you get to the MLS Cup final, you're winning championships, you're winning Supporter Shield. Oh, but there goes 3 of your players to any league in Europe. Like it's a lot.
I interviewed Stephen A. Smith one time.
Hey.
Oh boy.
And I don't know how people feel about him. I love him. But I interviewed him one time and it was off mic, but I asked him, I was like, what are your thoughts on soccer? I was like, do you think that soccer will ever become a main sport? He said, no. He was like, I don't see soccer ever being a sport that competes with baseball, basketball, football. He was like, it's always going to be secondary. And I was very upset about that.
I like that you're doing great work of making sure to get that question out there to people like Stephen A. Smith, at least planting the seed. Unfortunately, there are a lot of people that just don't take it seriously and really believe it's not going to be a major league in the same way. It's especially in the United States that it's not going to be able to compete. And I don't know what the answer is to change that. We know money is a big part of it.
It's that is where it's at now. But like I said, I hope that it does change. But I feel like the only way it's going to change is if the owners make the decision to change it.
Yeah.
Well, here's another thing too. A lot of what the Stephen A. Smiths don't realize is that the younger generations are the big part about it. I mean, look at your kids. You're teaching them at a young age. I mean, for myself, I was blessed to have a grandmom and cousins that taught me the sport because I wasn't going to learn it here in America.
Yeah.
And so the younger generations now have access. The internet is the flaws that it has also has a lot of pros. I remember being in high school, looking at YouTube videos of what's going on in Spain and the Spanish leagues. The internet has been able to help the younger generations find the sport, and they are actually liking it. So as these generations get older, that may be able to help our popularity.
Right, and that's the time. That's the time it's going to take. Like you said, not overnight, not even in the next year. And it definitely is. I compare it to where women's sports are because it's the same conversations. Now the difference is the talent isn't fully there in the MLS compared to other leagues. But in general, the overall way that people are investing it, the people in charge, you have to have good business minds in charge. Like we talked about with Kevin Durant, you need to have owners and investors that truly understand the sport and the direction it's going. And I'm not saying Kevin Durant does or doesn't. I'm just using him as an example. But you need to have people that are truly interested, bought in, want to take the league and the team to the next heights. And that's going to help it be a long-term, bigger, league versus short-term, that quick success we saw with Messi, the quick success we saw with even, Suarez, Busquets, the whole Inter Miami squad. That flame has burnt out. It's fizzled. Now what? Now what? You had the Apple TV deal that rolled out. You launched all these, everything following Messi from the moment he wakes up to the moment he goes to sleep to what color his toothpaste is. I was going to say underwear, didn't you? And also, following everything around Messi. There's literally a camera following him around the field. But what are you doing to now, as you mentioned, expand that to other teams, similar to what the WNBA is trying to figure out with Caitlin Clark, similar to what we're seeing in other leagues.
I love the personalities of WNBA, and that's why people are watching them, and that's something the MLS can do.
Get some beefs.
That too, but emphasize these players' personalities. People like that type of stuff.
Bingo.
I'm a huge Angel Reese guy over here.
Exactly. So hopefully we're going to continue to have these conversations and actual progress be made, actually being able to keep these players. But overall, for the Union specifically, stressful times right now. Not really sure the direction that we're headed, but we know right now it's a struggle. They are driving the struggles bus currently, but hopefully things will get better. Game on Wednesday against FC Cincinnati should be a very interesting matchup, going against a team that knocked them out of the playoffs last year. Getting maybe a redemption game. I don't know. But either way, Wednesday should be interesting. You have FC Cincinnati coming off a great 4-2 win over San Jose, where they really took it to the Earthquakes. And so, fingers crossed, things get better, but they won't. That'll do it for us here. They won't. Roxy Romeo joining us on the show. That's how it's getting better.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming in,
It was
Roxy.
fun.
Great guest, great personality. You are killing it on the airwaves.
Oh,
so
yeah.
happy that you're able to make some
Thank
time to come
you.
join us. I love seeing and hearing you on the radio. I'm like, this is my girl. And then even giving us a little shout out today, which we
Thank
greatly
you.
appreciate so much. I had people like, oh my gosh, Roxy's talking about you guys. So thank you for carving out time to hang with us in studio.
Anytime you want me back, okay, I will be here. This is too much fun.
And that'll do it for us here at PHY Union Podcast. We'll be back live next Monday, 2 p.m. We'll be dropping some content as the week goes on. As always, make sure you're following across social media, staying up to date with all the great things we've got going on here at PHY, the events, the merch that's dropping, tailgates, so many more fun things in store here for us at the studio. So for Tyler Zulli, JP, Zapata, myself, Renee Washington, and our great guest, Roxy Romeo, thank you for tuning in. We'll see you guys next time. Let's go Union.
We all silly like the mayor.